that, we are going to now be joined by my very good friend, Robert Garcia and Renee Robertson from ICF Global. And they are going to be talking about leadership, organizational culture, and effectiveness, creating a culture of coaching. Hi, Robert. Hi, Renee.
Hello, Helen. Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Great to see you. Good afternoon to everyone.
Yes, good afternoon.
Wonderful. What time is it for you all in the US?
It's early. It's 7 though. It's a good time. It's almost 7 a.m.
Wow. Thank you so much. I think really, really grateful that I woke up so early to be with us. And before y'all get started, Renee, thank you so much for waking up early. I know we've had loads of conversations, and we try to kind of shift your timings because I think the earlier session was at 2 a.m.
Thank you for that.
I know. Otherwise, y'all would have been sleepwalking with the session. So I'm glad that we were able to kind of shift your. But let me just share a little bit of both of you with our audience so that they get a perspective of who you are, and we'll take it from there. All right. So we'll start with Renee. Renee Robertson is a veteran corporate executive who has led global sales, marketing, human resources, and talent management organizations. As a leader, she has relied on a coach training and capabilities to engage organizations to thrive and achieve results. Robert Garcia is a strategic development director of ICF Coaching and Organization and responsible for the external membership development activities required to attract organizations to the CIO membership programs. He has a wealth of experience in the field of business and human resources. He's also a global strategic development director with ICF, and he worked with multinational organizations to join ICF to support their internal coaching culture. He's also held senior level positions at Randstad, SHRM, LHH, ADP, and United Healthcare. He's also an adjunct faculty member at Florida International University, where he teaches master level courses as HR. He has 5 HR certifications and is currently seeking his associate certified coach credential. That's awesome. So that's in a nutshell about Renee and Robert for you. And without further ado, you'll wanted to share a screen, right? So Renee, do you want to do that?
Yes.
And then I'll give you a heads up.
Can you see the screen okay?
Not yet. So you have a little icon that says share screen. I think it's green. It's a green icon with an arrow.
Yeah, I think it's a little slow.
Okay, no worries. We'll wait. Robert, how have you been?
Good, very good. Very busy. We're keeping busy.
I know. Busy is good. Busy is good. Excellent. Renee, I can't see your slides, but I can see all of them. So do you want to do one slide at a time? Yeah, you might just want to change that setting.
There we go. How's that?
Yes.
Perfect.
The types of coaching that appears in organizations. Robert will share some key findings from some research that was conducted between the International Coaching Federation and the Human Capital Institute over the last 5 years or so. I'll share a little bit with you about the evolution of coaching, so you can see sort of how it evolved and sort of has taken roots inside organizations. And then I will share a little bit about my journey to bringing coaching into a variety of different organizational settings, and then perhaps offer a few ways that you might want to consider how to either bring or expand coaching within your organizations. So let's start with the types of coaching in organizations. Today, we're seeing a few different ways that coaching is appearing. In the past, we saw executive coaching, more of a one-on-one type of approach, or now we're seeing that continues, as well as managers are equipping themselves with coaching skills. So they're able to coach their employees and other staff. We see, organizations hiring employees into full-time internal coaching roles that are working inside the organization to support coaching programs, deliver coaching internally, as well as peer-to-peer coaching. So organizations are starting to train their employees in coaching skills to sort of further reinforce those behaviors that coaching sort of brings forward. And Robert's going to share a little bit about the statistics on that, to really sort of enhance and further support their organizational cultures, as well as impact their business objectives. So as I mentioned, the International Coaching Federation and the Human Capital Institute had conducted several studies over the last 5 years. Everything from around coaching inside organizations, manager coaching, to generational coaching. And this one will discuss a little bit about some of the stats around coaching cultures. It's not the full readout. We don't have time for that. However, a link is provided where you can pull down the full report. Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you to share some of these statistics.
Great. And again, it's definitely a pleasure to be here with all of you to share this study and certainly the insights that we've received. As Renee said, we've been doing, in collaboration with the Human Capital Institute, this survey where we 366 participants were involved in this, and it's primarily human resources, learning and development, and talent management professionals throughout the world, all industries, in small, medium, and large-sized companies. And we see that, as you see there in the slide, 60% are external coaches, 57% use internal coaches. And then, as Renee was mentioning, we have seen that coaching has been expanded, and managers and leaders are using coaching as well in their development of themselves as leaders, and certainly developing their teams and the leaders within their teams. Next slide. Renee, next slide.
It's slow. It's not quite awake yet. There we go.
So the study looked at why leverage coaching and what the use of coaching was, and as we can see here, and as we can we've seen throughout the years where coaching is vital to leadership development, to the enhancement of leadership skills within individuals. Also, talent development is an important part, and then performance management, using coaching and coaching conversations with important performance managers so that individuals can really have meaningful conversations around their development at work, their career progression is definitely an important part, providing that expertise and that ability to move forward within an organization. Next slide. And then how does coaching impact high performance? So definitely it assists with the employer brand. We know certainly at ICF Coaching and Organizations, we focus on organizations that are building this internal coaching culture, that have a great brand as an employer. And this obviously helps attract very creative and successful leaders and individuals because they're attracted to the organization. Also, it helps with the retention of these very talented individuals within the organization. Individuals or people stay in companies because of this learning culture that includes coaching, and then it builds this coaching. Coaching builds the strength with their senior leaders within organizations. This is a great way to build this pipeline of senior leaders in the organization to move that organization forward. And in summary, what the study revealed or told us, very consistent with what we've seen throughout the 5-6 years that we've been doing the study, that managers and leaders are using coaching modalities. Most organizations turn to coaching not only for talent development, but for performance management. And trust and credibility are an essential part in selecting coaches. There is the study details the importance of having credibility, of building your coaching strength, of selecting coaches. Certainly, coaching credentials are an important part of providing the infrastructure to build your coaching culture and your coaching experience. So we encourage individuals that are into coaching to get accredited training and get their credentials in coaching so that you can build this trust and credibility as a coach.
Great. Thank you, Robert. And just to sort of, before we transition, just to reinforce there are some, as I mentioned earlier, some really excellent studies out on the ICF website that you can pull down, and you can read the full, all the statistics are there and the analysis. And just one of the topics that I wanted to reinforce, I found this very interesting in the study around performance management. These organizations, that participated are not indicating coaching is being used for sort of for poor performers. It's actually integrating the coaching conversation throughout the performance review or the performance management life cycle. I found that to be just a great support and a transition in terms of how coaching is being used and deployed in organizations. So thanks, Robert, for bringing up that point also. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the evolution of coaching. Okay, it's sort of interesting. There's some studies that say, there are founders of coaching going all the way back to the 1800s, which is probably true. However, a little more recent for our lifetimes, I thought it would be interesting to sort of highlight this journey. So reflecting back in the 60s, there was a humanistic type movement where the idea of self really became sort of forward, right? And if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, that sort of became a focus point, and therapy and individual therapy became more popular. As the 70s came around, there was a very interesting book written by Timothy Gallwey, The Inner Game of Tennis, which introduced, the psychological theories in context to sports coaching, right? And how top athletes required such strength in terms of, their mental endurance. So not as much as physical endurance, but mental endurance played a factor into physical endurance. So I always like to say, okay, so we start with self, and now we're talking sort of about the mental components. And then in comes the 80s, and we start to see the rise of management consulting, right? And this is more about having subject matter experts, bringing them into your organization and having them work in your organization. In come the 90s, and there becomes this growth of coaching. There were, here in the US, there were two organizations that were founded. One was the Professional Coaching, the PCPA, founded by Laura Whitworth, and then the International Coach Federation, founded by Thomas Leonard. Both of those organizations then merged, and they start to bring together all of these components that we've seen, the individual sort of being the center and being empowered to perform, right? And incorporating the concepts of performance, of expertise, but really placing that expertise in the individual, knowing that they have the expertise and they're empowered to sort of, achieve their goals, drive results. And then, slowly over the years, between 1995 was the founding of ICF. Between then and the 2000s, we've seen tremendous growth and interest in the coaching profession. Currently today, ICF has about 38,000 members and several thousand, I think 70% of them hold certified credentials. So as Robert mentioned earlier, they've attended coach accredited training programs. They've received a certain credential, which they've had to, take courses. They've had to demonstrate their competency. They've had to sit for written and oral exams to really commit to their professional development. And for all of us who are involved in, this is our space, we believe in that. So it's a testament to how the individuals are embracing coaching. Fast forward to the 2000s, we started to see coaching emerge within organizations in the very late 90s, early 2000s. And I'll speak to a little bit of that shortly. And then in 2005, ICF said it's time to recognize these organizations that have strategically integrated coaching into their culture and into their business practices and processes. And that award continues today. And each year we award 2 organizations for excellence in this area. Now, fast forward to last year and this year, ICF realigned in 2020. We announced a realignment that enabled us to go deeper into each of our areas that support organizations. In 2020, Coaching in Organizations was formed. That's the organization Robert and I work for. And I came on in March of 2020, and Robert joined this past year. It truly has been a startup by every sense of the word. And I think Robert would agree with that. It was a concept that, our board had, and it was incumbent upon us to make that vision a reality, which we've done in the last year by creating, a product and a product set, and actually operationalizing a business unit for ICF, and just an incredible experience, I think, for both of us and for all of the folks that have been on the path with us. And other organizations have formed also. So there's a Thought Leadership Institute that is really out there thinking about and questioning what is the future of coaching? What does that look like? And then some of the other family organizations are really focused on maintaining and building the standards, the credentials for training providers, the individuals that want to become credentialed, and making sure that, we maintain the best in class, the highest level of standards for this profession. So really some interesting work happening there. And if you're interested in that topic, please have a look at the website. You can see some of the work that's happening. Now, to just step back, for all of us who have been in this space and are in this space, and may say have some coaching in their organization, or would like to bring coaching into their organization, or would like to further coaching in their organization. I just thought I'd just call out a few highlights from my own experiences that might be helpful. So for me, I wasn't originally, from Helen shared in my bio, I was a sales executive in the beginning when I stumbled onto coaching. And through going through the process myself, I realized that this is a very empowering process. And I thought to myself, especially as a new leader at the time, this could be transformative for my teams. And that's sort of how I started, I became trained to coach and started to just apply coaching in my day-to-day job. And I saw tremendous results, and my teams loved it. We all loved it. It was a lot of fun. And each and every one was seeing great success in the work that they were doing. And then fast forward, at the time I was working for a little company called MCI Telecommunications, and another firm, which is sort of should have a dark cloud around it, WorldCom, came along and acquired us. And prior to the acquisition, at that time I had been rotated. I was working in a marketing organization, and working on the integration and seeing how different, even though this was the same industry, how different the cultures were in these two organizations that were trying to come together. And well, if you fast forward, many know the story. However, I made a business case for coaching in the organization, because I thought how better to facilitate two very, very different cultures coming together. Coaching could be that way. The first presentation didn't go so well. I was informed that great idea, however, we're letting go several thousand people. And oh, by the way, you're getting more responsibility. And that should have been the first sign. And of course I said, no problem. Yes, sir. I took my assignment and moved on. And those were challenging times. But right before the fall of WorldCom and the announcement of the fraud and the bankruptcy, I had pitched the proposal again. I had been invited to a leadership development program and, given a coach, and this feedback had come out that, I was into development and coaching, and to share that information with the new leadership that had assumed responsibility in our organization. And I did. And I got a call to say, hey, we would really like you to start this. And at the time, it was in the sales organization, and supporting really field-facing or front-facing customer organizations. So it was sales, it was some of operations, and it was customer service. So we began deploying coaching. After the fall of WorldCom and MCI reemerged, the coaching continued. And it was fascinating. We truly deployed it as a reverse attrition initiative. So part of it was leadership development, yes, but more so reverse attrition as well, because we knew we were in crisis and we could not afford to lose any of our key talent. And we were able to maintain our customer base and our top talent and emerge successfully from that bankruptcy. And at that time, MCI was awarded the PRISM Award for our work with strategically integrating and deploying coaching in the organization. Fast forward a few years, we didn't have enough fun with one merger, and we decided to have another. So a small company called Verizon came along and acquired MCI. It's a very interesting merger. MCI made up 80% of the incoming firm at the time. However, our work was recognized with talent, and Verizon had said at that time, I was now rotated into human resources and running talent management for the new entity. And they said, what a great way to bring, again, two very different cultures together, same business, very different cultures and very different distribution models, and tasked with bringing coaching across Verizon. And an incredible team of individuals, helped deploy this new initiative. And fast forward, Verizon was recognized with the Prism Award for strategically integrating their coaching, which was fascinating. But that's not the only way to bring coaching into organizations. Along my path, I knew my credential was important. I knew being an HR professional, having, an SAP is important. And I continued to invest in myself. I actually went on hiatus or sabbatical for a short period of time, doing some external coaching and consulting work in a few large organizations. And I highlight just one of them here because as an external coach, I worked with the HR organization to design and bring in coaching for Montblanc, which was very interesting. They hadn't had coaching before. And we started at the executive level, but then we designed and cascaded it throughout the organization. And then at that time, I spent time realizing how important this work was and documenting it and writing a book that documented all of these approaches to put it out there into the world for those that want to do it. And then after, I continued on with internal roles at GAF, head of talent, where again, brought in a different model of coaching, where we started with a blend of executive coaching, internal coaching, but more so deploying coaching skills for managers and leaders. And then we also worked with an executive coach on a CEO succession. So there's so many ways to deploy coaching. And I just wanted to share some of my personal experiences for all of us in this community that hopefully some of them might spark some ideas for you. And, that's what I hope for. And so then just to sort of bring us to a close and open for questions, you may be thinking, oh, how ways to get started? Where do I begin? I think some of the best places is, research coaching as a topic, look into different coaching education. What are the credentials that are out there, the certifications that are available? You can find information on the ICF website as well as others. Think about and assess your own coaching capabilities, determine what makes sense for you. Talk to your HR peers and colleagues in your network. Great resources. And then interview some of the managers and leaders in your organization and get an understanding from them what they think coaching is. Because that's always a fascinating piece. And you'll start to glean some insights on maybe where you would like to get started or how to further expand the work that you're doing. So with that said, I'd like to say thank you and turn it over to Helen for Q&A.
Wonderful. That was a lovely session. Thank you so much, Renee and Robert. We've got some questions for you, so I'm just going to be sharing that. The first question is, how do we instill a coaching culture in organizations?
It's such a big question. And that would take a lot of time. I think the first step is to understand the drivers for coaching, right? How does it fit into the business strategy? And then through sort of conducting an environmental scan of the organization, you start to identify the best places to insert the coaching. But I would definitely begin with assessing the business environment, even external, what's happening in your sector, what's happening in your organization, and then look for the opportunities that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to look at, the senior leadership team, what the vision of the organization is, where the organization is going.
Space for that many years now. A lot of people do not get the concept of coaching, mentoring, and counseling. It's all bunched together, and that's a huge assumption which can go horribly wrong because these three areas are completely different from each other. What would you say to that to educate the audience into distinguishing these three pillars?
Yes, as Renee said, and certainly I'll let her kind of define each of the areas. But coaching is primarily for development of your skills. We find that in organizations, it's done less, more towards high potential succession planning, performance management, and less for remedial. I think counseling is certainly different, much different. And Renee, you're certainly welcome to add. But we find that one of the things I like most about coaching is that it's very positive. It focuses on enhancing skills, on the development of you as an individual. Certainly, what the work that we do is within organizations, but coaching is very broad, as Renee is saying.
Yeah. I would say to distill it, Helen, I like to say mentoring is about the mentor, coaching is about the individual and the future, and counseling is about the past.
Yes, absolutely.
And where would you like to be?
Yes. And I think finding
I think we all want to be in the future.
Yes. And I think finding the who am I is so important and so crucial in that coaching space, because unless you know your values, unless you know who you are, everything else is a mess. You make bad decisions. You are, you become a terrible leader. You are not able to lead your teams in the way that you're supposed to. And that all comes from not knowing where you are coming from. And addressing that through coaching, I think, is extremely, extremely powerful. So thank you so much. We've got one more question before you'll go, and that is, what are the strategies to build a coaching culture within small and micro organizations? Does it even help SMEs? Or is it only effective in large organizations?
Robert, would you like me to start? Okay. There are ways to do it. And I would say, so having done some work also with some startups and small tech companies, I would say, one, ensuring if the CEO or the C-suite, that top founder is open, great entry point, because they really need the support. So that would be one. So if that's an external coach, or making sure the HR person working in the organization has that. And then peer-to-peer teaching, coaching skills for peer-to-peer and to the leaders. And then they can start working together, and even bring in team coaching is a nice way to help them as well.
Yeah, and I don't think size matters in this case. I think every organization can benefit from coaching. You don't have to have a huge budget to create this coaching culture within the organization. As Renee says, it could be peer-to-peer, it could be individuals. We do encourage you to get training, and I think that's an important part. as you develop your program, I think you need to really focus on getting, as a coach, your credentials, because it differentiates yourself.
Yes.
It's very easy for people to call themselves a coach.
Coach.
But the differentiator, what's going to set you apart, what's going to make you more successful and make your coachees more successful is the differentiation of being credentialed.
Absolutely. And also to know the basics of coaching. It's very important to come from a space of knowing what it is rather than just giving yourself a label. And I also would like to touch upon, I think like you rightly said, every member of an organization needs coaching. And I would think every individual needs coaching, because at some point in time, they don't know better. They don't know the inner strengths that they have. And that comes around through mindset, change in mindset, understanding and thinking differently, and having a different approach, because some people, most people are so boxed in their line of thinking, they're not able to think out of the box. They're not able to think of the same, like week 3 could be having a conversation on any topic and we could have 3 different perspectives, right? And there's no right or wrong about it. It's just, how do you fit that in towards your own goals, your own mindset, your own values that fit right for you?
Yeah, I think that we have a family organization or a business unit within ICF. Renee mentioned the thought leadership, and I think that the Vice President Alicia talks about having a world where everyone has a coach, and I think that's really the vision of or the profession, is where every successful individual within an organization, or even in the world, everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs somebody to talk to. Yes. That can assist you in molding what it is that you want to do.
And to be able to ask you the right questions to bring out the best in you. And I think that's the key, because that's what a coach does. He just asks questions. He doesn't need to be an expert in any particular area, but if he asks you the right questions, you'll be able to come up with the best attributes and traits of an individual. And with that positive note, thank you so much, Robert and Renee. It's been such a joy having both of you. And we will have a lot more of you probably in a separate individual session, because I think coaching is the future. And being a mindset and transformation coach, I know the value it has brought to me. At 55, I got myself certified, and it was just a natural calling. Because I've been counseling women for almost 10 years now, lots of women, because I'm part of a lot of women groups in India. And coaching came just as a natural calling to me. And I was just so thrilled, because counseling is so different. You keep giving them advice, you keep telling them what to do, but they don't own it, right? Because the decisions are not theirs, they're yours. And you're telling people what to do. But with coaching, the decisions are theirs. And that's such a huge shift in mindset, such a huge shift in approach. And I think every single person needs to be coached. So thank you so much for bringing that. To be certified by ICF is just absolutely a cherry on the cake. And I would like, and I'll personally encourage a lot of people to get there. And, we will take your support as well.
Wonderful. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate being part of HRM, and continued success. I know that you've been doing this for a few years, and it's just growing and becoming a great event.
Thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate all your support over the years. Thanks, Renee. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
So with that, we have